Illustrations are a fun way to mix up the look and feel of your e-commerce site, especially when it comes to product photography. But creating those illustrations is hard and often requires hiring skilled illustrators, which can be costly and time-consuming. Thankfully, you can learn how to turn a photo into a line drawing in Photoshop. In the following tutorial, we're going to see how to take one of your existing photos and convert that photo into line art quickly in Photoshop. Before we begin, know that images of products or objects that are isolated on a white or light-colored background will work best for the technique I'm about to show you. If you want to turn a photo into a pencil sketch in Photoshop, but you don't want it to look like you did it in Photoshop, you'll need to pay attention to detail and prepare your image properly before you apply any filters. I'm going to show you one method on how to convert your image into a pencil sketch flawlessly, and then we'll discuss specific tools you can explore to achieve other image outlining effects in Photoshop. Not all photos are the same, so you'll need to use your judgment as you adjust filters, blurs, and layer opacities each time you use Photoshop to convert a photo into a line drawing. For the first step, we're going to adjust the contrast of the photo to optimize it for a line drawing. In this photograph, the red parts of the bike contrast significantly against the white background. However, you'll see there are sections of the bike's frame that are very light, especially up here around the seat or over here. We're going to adjust the contrast of the entire photograph so the light areas of the bike won't blend into the background as we modify this photo. Go to your Layers panel and make sure the layer that contains your image is selected. I'm going to move that over here so you can see what I'm talking about. If you're working in a flattened image like this is a JPEG, this layer will be the locked background layer. See, it's locked. Now, if you can't see your Layers panel, you can access it by going to the top menu here, selecting Windows, and then scrolling down until you see Layers. We're going to use curves to make the light parts of the photo darker against the light background. To do this, choose Image, Adjustments, Curves from the drop-down menu at the top of Photoshop's application window. Now I have my Curves window open. This can look intimidating, but it's actually really easy and fun to use. At least I think so. What I'm going to be doing is clicking and dragging on this line here to change the lights and darks in my image. See? Like that. I'm working in RGB, so when I pull down on the curve, it darkens the inside shades of the image, and when I pull up, it lightens them. If you're working in CMYK, it's just the opposite. Down to lighten, up to darken. I want to adjust just these white areas on the bike. So I'm going to click on the area in the image to see where those colors correspond on the curve. See, it's up there and over there. And that gives me an idea where I need to adjust my curve. So I'll grab here and pull down. And see what that does to my image? Every image is a little bit different, but you should have an idea now of how to use curves to create more contrast between the object and the background. Once you've got some significant contrast going on, click OK in the Curves dialog box here. Next thing we're going to be doing is setting up our layers. We're going to have 4 regular layers in all and an adjustment layer. In your Layers panel, duplicate the layer containing your image 3 times. To duplicate the layer, select the original layer, click on the Layers panel menu, that's these little lines over here to the right, and choose Duplicate Layer. All right, I'm just going to do this 3 times here. Now let's name these layers so we don't get confused. Let's go up here to background copy 1. Click on the layer name of the background copy layer so you can rename it. We'll call this one inverted. The next layer up, we'll name sketch. And the top one, we're going to rename to crosshatch. Let's move on to the next step. Ultimately, this is going to be a black and white sketch. So the next thing we're going to do is convert our image to black and white. Yes, you can go to image mode grayscale, but we're going to use an adjustment layer instead. So to start, select a duplicated layer at the top of the layers panel, the one called crosshatch. We're doing this so that the adjustment layer we're going to create will sit on top of all the other layers. So that's why we selected the top layer here. Select the adjustment layer icon down at the bottom of the layers panel. It's the icon that looks like this half black, half white circle. And we're going to choose hue saturation from that menu that pops up. And voila, you've just created an adjustment layer for hue and saturation, which means all layers that appear beneath the adjustment layer will retain the hue saturation properties you set for that adjustment layer. All right, I'm going to show you how it works now. With this adjustment layer still selected, go to this properties panel. It probably popped up when you created the layer. If not, you can go to Windows, Properties, and it will show up there. Okay, so over here, you'll see 3 sliders in the Properties panel. You've got Hue, Saturation, and Lightness. And real quick, let me show you what they do. So the Hue is going to change the color of the bike. I'm going to reset that. Lightness, just like you can imagine, changes the exposure of the image. But the one that we want is saturation. So I'm going to take the slider for saturation, I'm going to pull it all the way to the left so that the value listed for saturation is now -100. And look, your image is now grayscale. In this next step, you'll learn how to outline or trace the picture in Photoshop using a series of layer effects. If your goal is to create just an outline of your photograph, you may decide that this picture is complete after this next step. Make your top 2 layers invisible by clicking on the eye icon next to them. Then select the visible layer that is second from the bottom of the layers panel, the one we named inverted. We're next going to change the blending mode of this layer, so click on the drop-down menu where it says normal, and we're going to select color dodge. With this same layer still selected, invert the image by typing Command I or Control I if you're on a PC. You can also invert the layer by choosing Image, Adjustments, Invert from this drop-down menu. So if you look here in the layers panel, there's a preview of what the image would look like if it didn't have the color dodge blending mode attached. And I'll just change it back to normal here for a second so you can see. That looks inverted, right? Don't worry, this is all correct. Next, choose Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur from the drop-down menu at the top of the window. In the Gaussian Blur dialog box that appears, adjust the slider until your image looks like a line drawing. I'm not going to pay attention to what's in the box. I'm going to pay attention to over here. Just make sure this preview button here is checked. That looks about right. Moving the slider to the left will result in thinner lines, and moving it to the right and increasing the blur will thicken and darken the lines. Like I said before, make sure preview is checked in the dialog box here so that you can see how the image changes as you move the slider to the right or the left. We liked it around 9. Once you're happy with that, click OK. Now, as a side note, you may decide you want to thicken the strokes of your line drawing as it looks so far. To thicken the strokes, duplicate your original layer one more time. I'm going to call it thick lines. And move that new layer to above that inverted layer that has the color dodge blend mode assigned to it. Next, we're going to choose Filter, Filter Gallery from the drop-down menu. If you see Filter Gallery up here, don't select that. Select this one. And here, we're going to choose Glowing Edges under Stylize. If you don't see it, just look for the Stylize folder, click on the little triangle next to it, and you will see glowing edges under it. Yes, it's inverted. We're going to fix that in a minute. So if you want to make lines thicker, you would adjust your edge width to the right. Thinner, you're going to adjust them to the left. And edge brightness will make your lines a little finer and more defined. It's somewhere in between. And I'm going to move smoothness down too because I don't want it to look blurry. It's a little hard to see what this is going to look like right now, so you kind of have to visualize this in reverse. Reducing edge brightness will result in a cleaner edge, as I mentioned. Click OK. Now we're going to invert this layer. Again, it's Control-I on a PC, Command-I on a Mac, or you can always go to Image, Adjustments, Invert. Now I'm going to take this thick lines layer and change the blending mode to multiply. And if I toggle the visibility on and off, you can see how those lines are now a little bit thicker. For now, I'm going to leave the visibility toggled off, but I may choose to put it back on later on, just depending on how my image is looking. For the next steps in this process, we'll need to make sure that our foreground and background colors are set up correctly before we do anything with our filters. So let's do that now. In your toolbar over here, set your background color to white by clicking on the background color icon. In the Color Picker Background Color dialog box, click on the upper left-hand corner of the large box up here, and that is going to give us a white as we can get. You can double check that because FFF down here is white. Click OK. Next, we're going to set our foreground color to a medium gray. So the same thing, we're going to double click on this foreground color here. And the Color Picker Foreground Color dialog box will come up. Click midway down on the left side of the large color box. Other colors in this large color box, these are irrelevant since you're keeping the cursor all the way to the left side of the large color box. So it doesn't matter what other colors you see here. In the Layers panel, select the layer called Sketch. Click on the eye icon to make the layer visible again. Your image will now look like a black and white photo again. Choose Filter, Filter Gallery from the drop-down menu at the top of the application window. In this filter window, click on the folder marked Sketch and choose Charcoal. Now we're going to adjust the charcoal thickness, detail, and light-dark balance until the image in the preview window has the appropriate amount of detail. Remember, you already have a line drawing of your photo in a lower layer, so you only need to create shading in this step. Click OK. Back in the Layers panel, click on the drop-down menu next to Normal and adjust the layer blend mode of the charcoal layer to Multiply. We're going to add a crosshatching effect. In your Layers panel, click on the eye icon on the crosshatch layer to make the layer visible. If you want, you can turn on the thick lines as well. With this top layer selected, choose Filter, Filter Gallery once more from the drop-down menu. Again, if you see Filter Gallery more than once in the drop-down, make sure you select the lower option here. In the filter window, click on the option marked Sketch, it's where we just were, and choose Torn Edges. Now we're going to adjust the toggles on the right-hand side of the screen until you can see the details of your image. Once you're happy with the appearance of the Torn Edges filter, click on the new icon located in the lower right-hand side of the filter window. You'll see Torn Edges appear twice now in the right-hand side of the filter window. While the top instance of Torn Edges is still selected, click on the graphic pen filter and change the stroke direction to left diagonal. You can also adjust the sliders for the graphic pen filter until you're satisfied with the image in the preview window. As with the previous layer, you're only creating shading at this stage. Click OK. And now, change the layer blend mode from normal to multiply, as you did with the previous layer. Finally, because the graphic pen filter is crisper than the charcoal filter we applied to the lower layer, we'll add a slight motion blur. With the same layer still selected, choose Filter, Blur, Motion Blur. In the Motion Blur dialog box, set the angle to -45 and move the distance slider to the left to create a very slight blur. Make sure Preview is checked so you can see the blur before you apply it, and click OK. Playing with the opacity of your layers and cleaning up any dark spots that you see in your image will put the final touch on your new pencil sketch. First of all, let's adjust the opacity of some of our layers. You can adjust the opacity of the top two layers to reduce the intensity of the pencil shading. So I can move this to, say, 60%, and we're going to set this one to 70%. I'm going to take off thick lines for now. Now, you should not adjust the opacity of either the inverted or the background layers, because if you do so, you could undermine the line drawing effect that you have created. Next, let's clean up any artifacts. Depending on your image, there may be several places where the white background looks as if it has smudges or dark spots. These are called artifacts. In order to remove dark spots such as these, we're going to stamp all the layers. First, we need to make our locked background layer into an editable layer. So double-click on that. Now, select all of your layers. If you are on a PC, you are going to type Ctrl-AE. On a Mac, you'll type Command-Option-E to create a stamped layer, which will appear at the top of your Layers panel. Next, we're going to set our foreground color to white in the toolbar. Just invert those to do that. And choose the brush tool from the toolbar. Within your new stamped layer, carefully paint over any smudges that you see. And there you have it. Your finished image will now look like a pencil sketch. Now that you know how to turn a picture into a line drawing in Photoshop, be sure to check out our other Photoshop tutorials to master your skills.